Welcome to another edition of GW Unspoken, where we talk about things we don't typically talk about, but probably shouldn't we? It was Season 2, Episode 5, and one for perfect around New Year's. Fuel for focus, nutrition for mental clarity. And it's coming from our series on healthy habits and lifestyle design. Last time we talked about sleep, so let's talk into the subject of fuel for focus. Real food, real life. You know, it's not about perfection. And look, before we wrap this episode, I want to get very practical because clarity doesn't come from theory alone. This is one example day, not a prescription, okay? So think of it as a template you can adjust based on taste, culture, budget, allergies, and lifestyle. The goal is stable energy, steady focus, and that then gives us what we predominantly probably need as a society. Think about Christmas, how busy people have been and how angry people have been and frustrated and impatient. Emotional regulation, so food can help that. All right, so here we go. Let's set the tone. What's something we can have for brekkie? So the idea is protein plus healthy fat to avoid the mid-morning crash. That's it. And I know there's going to be people out there who say, well, you know, I do fasting and it works for me and I've done the research and it's proven. I get all that. That's fine. Keep going with your day. I'm just talking about meals in general. So I'm going to blanket this into a typical day if you weren't fasting. If you are fasting, pick and choose maybe some of these ideas in around when you are actually consuming food. So example, scrambled eggs with spinach and avocado, you know, Greek yogurt with berries, seeds, maybe a drizzle of honey to actually get some of that sweetness in there. Some people have like a protein smoothie, like bananas and berries and protein powder, nut butter, milk, yogurt, whatever you like. Some people have like more specific like whole grain toast with eggs and even a bit of olive oil. And olive oil is actually good for you. You know, and so why would something like that work for breakfast? Well, it stabilizes your blood sugar, protein does, and fats support your brain function. So your brain wakes up, it's supported, and it's not stressed. And I went to a couple of, probably been about 3 or 4 now, nutrition workshops and seminars, and the overwhelming, I guess, key message from each of those different speakers and each of those different conferences was protein is the key. So I'm not saying get rid of carbs. I'm not saying get rid of sugar, fats, all those other things. I'm saying protein is a natural filler. So when we get hungry, we naturally seek sugar and salt. And that's why our fast food chains are so strong and probably well off and rich and do well, because our brain goes, I want sugar, I want salt, I want sugar. Macca's, please. Mum, can I have KFC? Mum, Dad, can I have this? Oh, I'm starving. All right. Protein will stop those hunger pangs. All right. Here's a morning snack. So to sustain focus. So the idea is to prevent dips, not just treat your hunger. So try and keep that insulin as level as we can so we don't look for that sugar and salt. So examples are, you know, apple or pear with a handful of nuts because you get the protein there as well. Maybe a yogurt pouch or some boiled eggs if it's socially acceptable. Cheese and whole grain crackers, smoothie leftovers, or a protein ball. All right, and you can actually make them at home. They're really easy to make. So, and your brain around this should be, you know, support my brain, not spike it, not to give it a heap of sugar. And hopefully there's some parents that are thinking about this, how they can do some lunchbox fillers for their kids when they go to school. All right, let's do some lunch. How can you fuel the afternoon? Because the idea is to balance the plate without the heaviness. So some examples might be, again, your protein, your tuna or your chicken, or if you don't like that, you might like tofu or lentil salad with olive oil and dressing again, some kind of rice, a rice bowl with protein, veggies and healthy fats again in it. Maybe a wrap if you didn't want like the heavy carbs with lean protein, like again, like a lean chicken or something. With salad, some people like hummus, so maybe some hummus in there. Or you could have some leftovers from dinner, and that's probably one of the most underrated options. If you've got it, you loved it, it had protein and fats and carbs in it, and you can keep it cold, or if you just take it to school or work, have that. Because you got to watch the trap. Heavy, high sugar lunches will give you that foggy afternoon. There's so many people, I've been there before, experienced it, where you get what's called the 3 o'clock sleepies. So around that 2, 3 o'clock, you start coming down. It's often because we've had that high sugar and heavy lunch. So what about afternoon snack? So how do we avoid these 2 to 3 p.m. crashes? Because the idea is to calm your energy and not have rescue eating, So again, a handful of peanuts, ones that just fit, I guess that's enough to fit in your hands. Some people are craving maybe some sugar, so maybe some dark chocolate's a better option there with your peanuts or nuts. Some cottage cheese or yogurt if you like cottage cheese or yogurt. Veggie sticks with hummus again, smoothie or protein shake again, banana with peanut butter, again a bit of sweetness there you can see coming through with protein, and vitamins and minerals with the fruit. And yes, drink water first because dehydration often disguises itself as hunger or fatigue. So have water first. It'll actually fill up your stomach it'll actually make you have less chance of just eating to your overfull. All right, dinner is to restore and recover. So the goal is nourishment without overstimulation. You can actually get to sleep at night time. So what can we do there? Fish or lean meat. They should be saying we should have fish 3 times a week, some good quality fish, some deep water fish. So fish or lean meat with vegetables and or rice or potatoes. Some people like stir fry, can put lots of veggies in there with healthy oils and proteins again with whatever you like, beef, chicken, pork, whatever it is you like. Pasta with protein and vegetables is another good one. Or when it gets into the colder months, or if you can't be bothered, you can put this on in the morning if you're ready and you can do this. And that's have some slow cooked meals. So soups, stews, curries, that kind of stuff. Because what you have at dinner will support your tomorrow focus as well, if that makes sense. Not just tonight's hunger. It'll set you up for success. All right. So that's just some really basic principles. Some protein, some good fats and oils, and some carbs, and vitamins and minerals, obviously, and water. So, but what if you're hungry between the meals? Now, this matters, especially if you've got a growing body in the right proportion, or if you're an active person, or you need some more regulation in your nervous system. All right. So here's some good options. Ready? Fruit, nuts, toast with some kind of nut butter, yogurt, leftovers, smoothies. Okay. Again, vitamins, minerals, and proteins is probably the backbone of all of those options. All right. So the idea is what we're avoiding is long gaps, because if we do, we'll start getting into emotional eating. I don't know how many times I've overeaten where I'm on the boat not catching fish, or don't have breakfast, I'm starving by 10 o'clock, and just go for anything there and just overeat. So try and fuel early, fuel gently, and fuel as often as needed. So just remember, nutrition is not about control, it's about capacity. So when your brain is well fueled, your focus improves, your emotional regulation strengthens, your decision-making becomes easier, and you stop fighting yourself. And that's lifestyle by design. Okay? So try and think about that. Try and think about how I use the analogy when I'm talking to young kids about a motorbike. I've got a sports bike. It's 1,000. It's 1,000 racer. It's a Honda. It's been there. Sorry for your Honda haters out there, but I've had it for nearly 9 years now, or 10 years. And I'll say, will I put crap fuel or diesel or low-grade unleaded fuel into my super-powered bike? No. What will I put in? I'll pay the money and I'll put in some premium fuel for unleaded fuel, because that's what it needs, that's what it likes, that's what it uses. All right, now let's now presume you are now a high-performance machine. Your body is a high-performance machine. Are you going to feed it crap all the time and expect it to be regulated? Expect it to have like really good focus? You're going to have lots of energy for sustainable long periods of time if you have junk food as your fuel for your superhuman body, your mechanism, your mechanics there? And the answer is always no, of course not. Okay, so you want your body to be in peak performance, your brain and your moods to be in peak performance. What are you going to do? You're going to feed it accordingly. So whatever you feed it and fuel it and rest, it'll set you up ready to go. Like you had those with exercise, you're going to be a machine this year that people won't even be able to stop or know. They'll look at you and go, what the hell, what's been going on with you? You know, what kind of steroid are you on at the moment? And you'll just go, no, I've just changed 3 big things. You know, add a fourth, go lack on technology, focus on something more important, like growing yourself by reading a book or something, or get around good people and have good conversations face to face. You get those 4 things right and you do that for like 3 months and you develop a habit around that, people will not know who you are and they'll go, my gosh. And you'll be leaving probably all of those people who are maybe bad influences in your community or connections behind, and starting to thrive and look for new connections. And that's something I really wish for you. So what can we do today for our journal prompts? You know, I love you to do this because what gets measured improves. Take the time. It's 3 things. It's easy. Our brain usually thinks in 3s: intro, body, end. Think of a movie. It's usually got a really strong intro, really good ending. In the middle, it revolves around the plot. It's pretty easy thinking. 3 things to reflect on. So please write these down and answer these. Number 1, which meal in your day has the most impact on your focus? And is that impact positive or negative? So identify it, write it down. Second one, where do you tend to underfuel or skip meals? And what's the cost of that? Not talking financially necessarily, unless you go out and binge eat after that and you use a lot of money around that. What's the cost of you skipping meals, socially, emotionally, energy, that kind of stuff? Is it affecting you in your 3 o'clock sleepies? All right. And number 3, what's one food habit that you could adjust this week to better support your brain? Write down. Awareness creates that choice. And look, in the next episode of Judo Unspoken, we're going to continue with this series and we look at more movement for food and why 10 minutes is just enough to start. We're going to break down why movement is one of the fastest mood regulators. My gosh, sometimes I just need to run. Actually, my wife says sometimes you just need to run because I'm getting impatient in the household. You know, the neuroscience behind short bursts of activity, why you don't need the gym, lycra or motivation, and how just 10 minutes can shift anxiety, stress, and emotional load. You know, if you've ever thought, I know I should move more, but I just don't have the energy, this episode is going to be for you. So tune in and I look forward to your company then.